Hello and welcome to Indian Mythology in Modernity, and I'm your Sutradhar Oindrila, trying to reconstruct the sources and cultures of our very own Hindu myths and legends. Hinduism is known to be one of the most ancient religions of the world, sometimes known to be a way of life or the Sanatan Dharma. But with the term Hindu being declared as a geographical identity and not a religious one makes it a more secular term, and that consequentially makes it more easier for us to approach, dissect and analyze it. So how did it all start? Around 1700 BC, some people from the northwest part of India came into India, that is, they migrated into India. They were believed to be from the mountains, they were fair-skinned and they were beautiful people, popularly known as the Aryans or the Indo-Europeans. They came into India and brought along with them a mythic tradition which became the basis of the early forms of Hinduism. So what is Hindu mythology? Hindu mythology are narratives which are found in Hindu texts like the Vedas, the Puranas, or popularly translated texts like the Panchatantra and the Hitopadesha. They can be in the form of stories or oral narratives or even great epics. But one thing notable about Hindu mythology is that it doesn't usually have a consistent monolithic structure, which means that one particular Hindu myth can typically be found in several versions and can be represented differently in several socio-religious contexts and traditions. Let's take the example of a character like Mayasura. Yes, he was the architect of the gods. He was brilliant in his work, he could construct almost everything, he had magical powers, and so he was called to make the Palace of Illusions Indraprastha for the Pandavas in Mahabharata. It is interesting to note here that the same Mayasura reappears long back in Ramayana as the father-in-law of Ravana. Let's take another example of a place like the Gandhara state or the Gandhara dynasty. This Gandhara dynasty appears in Mahabharata and it's found with similar importance in Pali scripts of Buddhism. So as we can see, the Hindu myths doesn't belong to Hinduism alone. They have transpired into other religions, or should I say, they have inspired other myths and stories of other religions. So one particular Indian myth can be represented or can be found in several socio-religious contexts and traditions. Another very good example of this particular aspect is the great epic Ramayana and its various versions. Ramayana also exemplifies the fact that not only Hinduism but any other religion is so internally diverse. Let's begin our journey on Indian mythology with the study of the great epic Ramayana. Ramayana is no longer an Indian epic, it's a world epic. With more than 300 versions being translated and narrated, reinterpreted and enacted all across the world, it has almost become a global phenomenon. Some of the popular versions are the Jain Ramayana, the Thai Ramayana or the Ramakian, which is sometimes found engraved on stone structures and caves. It is also performed yearly like an annual festival in many places, and also the Theravada Buddhist Ramayana. So in this regard, let's read a passage from my book Kanyayug. Ramayana is one of the ancient literary texts written in verse style and hence sometimes called the Adikavya, that is old literary poetry. Across the 7 kandas and 500 sargas, the epic tells the story of Ayodhya King Rama in 24,000 verses. The plot builds him like an ideal hero, a Maryada Purushottam, as he is followed today. By describing his dilemma, his attitude to relationships, his decision-making skills, and his warlike heroism, the narration swoons the audience with Rama's personality. Some people claim that Rama was born in 7323 BCE, and accordingly, all other events of the epic framed into a timeline. Though even today, historians have not been able to establish the sanctity and existence of these characters even with carbon dating. The oldest evidence of text found is a palm leaf manuscript discovered in Nepal, which dates back to 11th century CE. Composition sources say that the plot of Ramayana was built sometime between 200 BCE and 200 CE. That's interesting. I mean, it is said or it is believed that these events were thousands and thousands of years old. 9,600 years old to be precise, but they have not been documented or they haven't come into writing before 200 BCE. That's surprising. So, Ramayana, as originally written by Valmiki, has been translated and retranslated several times, and it has several versions. It exists in almost every other language that we know of, starting from English to Tamil to Telugu to Bengali and many other non-Indian languages as well. We all know the basic story of Rama, how he was born, how he ruled, how he lived in Ayodhya, and how he had supernatural powers, how he used his celestial weapons, how he had the endurance of his self, and how he conquered. So we will not go into the main plot of Ramayana, but we will look more closely into the individual characters of Ramayana, and we will study them or analyze their stories with their joys and their sorrows, with their pain and their pleasures, with their merits and their flaws. So basically, we will take a deeper look. We will develop an empathy towards every man and woman in Ramayana, understanding them from a more humanistic approach. In short, we will study the epic and its characters from a more literary and cultural perspective rather than a religious or moral structure. And probably in the journey, we will unravel some unheard stories, some new stories that never existed before, and perhaps they were buried under the sand of cultural idealism, as we can say. Because the tales that we have grown up listening to from our parents, from our dadi and nani, mostly highlight Rama as the true hero, as the epitome of truth and justice, as the Maryada Purushottam of the perfect man. But was Rama really perfect? I don't think so, because though he was the incarnation of God, but when he was born in Ayodhya, he was a human, and he did have in him all the characteristics of a human. He had his own limitations, he had his own flaws, and he lived with them till the end of his life. So, according to me, the abridged tales or the oral narratives which try to celebrate the greatness of Rama is nothing but half truth to me, I can say. And perhaps they were intended to establish and consolidate the foregrounds of an Indian patriarchy which exists even today, as we can see. Because if Rama was so perfect, why he allowed the massive killing of so many people in Lanka when Rama and Ravana were fighting? I mean, so many innocent women, children, and the common citizens of Lanka who had basically nothing to do with the Ram Ravana war or winning over Sita were just mercilessly killed. If he is God, he should have provided more protection to them. He should have saved them. He should have just killed the evil and not kill all of them. But could he do that? No. Another important aspect in Ramayana, which remains very much underrated, is that of the women. The women of Ramayana, they are beautiful, they are dynamic, they are brilliant and intelligent. But I somehow feel that not proper justice has been done to these women in any of the narrations or translations of Ramayana. Mostly they have occurred as subplots in the text, like just giving support to the main plot of heroism of Rama. But that is not the truth. So our attempt here will be to look more closely and deeply into the stories of the women in Ramayana, who were so intelligent, who were so bold and beautiful at the same time. There were many women in Ramayana besides Sita. Some of them we have heard of, and some names are just light in our memory possibly. There was Urmila, there was Mandavi, there was Shrutakirti, who were all Sita's sisters. And then there was Kaushalya, there was Manthara, there was Kaikeyi, there was Sumitra, who also lived in the palace of Ayodhya and had a very important play in the context of events. And there were other women who were individual characters, like Anasua, like Atrey, like Shabri, like Shurpanakha. Though yes, Shurpanakha was Ravana's sister and she had an integral part in the main plot, but still I will call her an individual because she has some characteristics to herself which are only her own. And then there is Taraka, and then there is the beautiful Ahalya. So let's do something. Let's start our study of the women of Ramayana with Ahalya. Let's see. Let's start reading together, because I feel that we don't only read with our eyes or with our mouth, we read with our memory and we read with our ears too. So let's start reading together. Ahalya, sometimes spelled Ahilya. The word can be read in two parts. A implies non or without in Sanskrit, and Halya, which essentially means related to the plough. Her name meant someone without the tinge of ugliness or dirt, or someone with impeccable beauty. Ahalya is believed to be one of the Panchakanyas or 5 virgins who have been held as the epitomes of chastity and purity, the others being Draupadi, Kunti, Tara, and Mandodari. Though all of them had physical association with men, their souls and hearts were untouched and pure. It is believed that they remained honest to their souls, or if any man, then it was their respective husbands. Ahalya was the most beautiful daughter of Brahma as is described in Hindu mythologies. Her episode in Ramayana is short, yet in the oral traditions hold immense importance as a cautionary for men and women. Krittivasa's Ramayana describes Ahalya in the Adikanda section. সহস্র সুন্দরী সৃষ্টি করিলেন ধাতা সৃজিলেন তা সবার রূপেতে অহল্যা ত্রিভুবনে সুন্দর না ছিল তার তুল্যা, which when translated sounds something like this. The creator of the universe constructed 1,000 beauties in his leisure, but out of all he sculptured one with compassion and patience, and that was beautiful Ahalya. In the 3 worlds there were none to be compared with her charm, grace, and beauty. Brahma gave Ahalya away to sage Gautama for rearing her up in good practice and culture till her puberty. He hoped that this flawless daughter should be unparalleled in wisdom as well, because she was to be known as the daughter of the great goddess Saraswati, who is the giver of knowledge and wisdom to the world. But how did that happen? How did the goddess of wisdom and knowledge become the mother of Ahalya? Here, another question comes to my mind too. What made Brahma give away Ahalya to Gautama? I mean, why couldn't the creator himself bring up his own daughter? I mean, why he had to give it away to another saint? And what happened to Ahalya when she grew up? What happened to her when she matured? When she became a woman after growing up? We will find out in our next episode. Today's readouts have been taken from the book Krittivasa's Ramayana, which you can find in Flipkart or some of the stores in Kolkata as it is in Bengali version, and the book Kanyayug-The Unsung Tales of Ramayana, written by Oindrila Basu, that is me, and you can find this book on Amazon. And you can also find this book on Notion Press, Flipkart, and many other stores. The links to both the books are given below on the reference section. If you like my video, please like, share, and comment. If you have any suggestions or information regarding mythology, if you have any news stories about Indian mythology, Hindu mythology, you can always include them in the comment section. And you can also subscribe the channel by hitting the bell icon. Till then, happy reading. Thank you.